While the basketball world is still recovering from the madness that went down at the trade deadline, there's still so much unfolding elsewhere that needs our attention. Within the last month, there has been quite a bit of movement amongst the top prospects on the rise in this year's draft class, which is exactly what we'll be focusing on in today's video. Every month I publish an updated mock draft, keeping things up to date based on how the prospects are performing and how they stack up against each other leading up to the main event, and the order that the teams are picking in today is based on the current NBA standings. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting with the number 1 pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Cooper Flagg from Duke. Flagg didn't exactly get off to the fastest start in the world this season, but his tools and intangibles have been on display from day one, and every month he has improved across the board. Flagg is a truly elite two-way prospect who makes his presence felt inside and out on defense, rotating to block shots, jumping passing lanes, and embracing the physical side of things, and then offensively, he's starting to address the areas that originally seemed like weaknesses. He's taking and making more threes, he's getting to the rim at will, he's a very crafty finisher in the paint, and his athleticism is shining. So for a Wizards team starting to turn a corner with young talent, they won't hesitate to take Flagg here. Next, with the second pick, the New Orleans Pelicans select Dylan Harper from Rutgers. Harper started the season red hot and got to a point where he was legitimately giving Cooper Flagg a run for his money as the top prospect, but over the last month, Flagg has been exploding, and Harper has been unfortunately dealing with a sprained ankle, so he's settling into the number 2 spot. He's still having an exceptional season as a whole though, and I'm certainly not letting an injury change my opinion of him after seeing him dominate game after game. Harper is a strong 6'6" guard who gets wherever he wants on the court with ease, he bullies his defensive matchup, and draws enough attention to set his teammates up for quite easy looks if the team sends help. Pelicans may go through a fire sale this offseason after their disaster of a season, and if they choose to rebuild, Harper is the perfect starting point to build around. Next, with the third pick, the Utah Jazz select Ace Bailey from Rutgers. Bailey may be the best pure shot maker in the draft, and his ability to turn nothing into something is what will always turn the heads of NBA scouts. I will say though that I'm very cautious regarding how high his upside may be. He's a 6'10" wing who shoots the ball efficiently and knocks down tough looks over tight contests with ease, but I'm worried about the fact that he resorts to those tightly contested looks as often as he does. He's not a very good player creating separation off the dribble. His lack of creativity with the ball in his hands could hold him back at the NBA level, and in that regard, he reminds me a lot of Jabari Smith Jr., who was a highly touted prospect with similar limitations. And now Jabari's offensive game has been struggling to translate for 3 years after a great shooting season at Auburn, so while Bailey has a ton of talent, I would just be wary of that. Next, with the fourth pick, the Charlotte Hornets select VJ Edgecombe from Baylor. Edgecombe is another prospect who entered the year with a lot of hype, struggled a bit early, but those who were patient with his development are reaping their rewards now, because he's been really putting it all together lately and is locking himself into some top 5 considerations. Edgecombe is an insanely athletic talent who can jump out of the gym, and now his explosive scoring prowess is becoming much more balanced, with him averaging 19 points, shooting 49% from 3 over his last 10 games. The Hornets could definitely use more scorers around LaMelo Ball on this team, and Edgecombe would fit right in that regard. Next, with the fifth pick, the Toronto Raptors select Kasparas Jakucionis from Illinois. Jakucionis shot up draft boards early on in the season and has held firm on that rise from that point on. He's demonstrating such an impressive level of production, efficiency, and feel for the game at 18 years old that feels wise beyond his years. His control of the pick and roll, ability to make the right reads at the right time, and then execute to perfection has future lead guard written all over him. His three-point shot isn't always consistent, but he's had games where he's gotten hot from beyond the arc, and when that happens, he's very tough to stop. Next, with the sixth pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Tre Johnson from Texas. Tre Johnson is currently leading the SEC in scoring as a freshman, putting up over 19 points per game, and in terms of pure shot creation, he's one of the best talents in the entire draft. He'll stop on a dime and pull up for a nice mid-range jumper, he has great touch around the basket, and while he may not be the most consistent from beyond the arc, he has a very pure shooting stroke that can heat up in a heartbeat, and as a volume scorer, those are the kind of inconsistencies that you live with. Next, with the 7th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who own the 76ers pick, select Asa Newell from Georgia. The Thunder are one of the best teams in the league already, so they'll take advantage of owning this pick by selecting a player ready to contribute in a specific role right away, and Asa Newell is the best available in that regard. Newell may not have as high of a ceiling as other prospects available, but he has one of the highest floors as an incredibly safe bet because he's very smart with how he moves on the floor. He may not be a creator with the ball in his hands, yet he still finds ways to score double figures every game, hunting the openings, and his versatility on defense will make him a great depth piece immediately. Next, with the 8th pick, the Chicago Bulls select Khaman Maluach from Duke. Maluach is still a very raw prospect, but the things that he does well are skills that NBA teams can work with from day one. He's a mobile 7'2" big man with incredible length inside to contest and block shots around the rim, he sets nice hard screens in the pick and roll game, he has good hands inside, and he finishes very efficiently around the rim, posing as a viable putback and lob threat. Next, with the 9th pick, the Portland Trail Blazers select Kon Knueppel from Duke. Knueppel is another freshman who started the year slowly shooting the ball, but as a natural sharpshooter, those struggles were never going to last very long. He takes the opportunities that come to him naturally within the flow of the offense, he's a much better playmaker than initially expected, and he's now shooting 46% from 3 over his last 9 games. So with that 3-ball heating up, he's helping Duke level up as a whole, and for a Trailblazers team that ranks in the bottom 5 of the NBA in 3-point shooting this year, he could be exactly what they need. Next, with the 10th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Egor Demin from BYU. Demin exploded early in the season, pushing some top 5 talks, but over the last few months, he's cooled off a good bit and is coming back down to reality. He's still an incredibly intriguing prospect, but his 3-point shot is not where it needs to be at this point in time, making just 27% of his shots from deep. He's still a crafty 6'9" playmaker with a natural feel for passing and generating assists for teammates, and he's a terrific player in transition, pushing the pace, but to fully unlock his potential, he'll continue to need to work on becoming a 3-level scoring threat. Next, with the 11th pick, the Orlando Magic select Liam McNeeley from Connecticut. McNeeley is similar to Knueppel in that he's labeled as a sharpshooter who had some ups and downs in that regard early on, but he's coming off of a 38-point performance in a win against Creighton where he showed off what he's capable of when he gets hot. The Magic are currently the worst 3-point shooting team in the entire league, so taking a swing on McNeeley's sweet shooting stroke seems pretty wise. Next, with the 12th pick, the Houston Rockets, who own the Suns pick, select Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. Fears is a terrific example of how eye test can differ from stats on paper because Fears is definitely not the most efficient player, but he has one of the highest usage rates in college basketball, and his creativity as a playmaker and creator entertains crowds every game, and it translates to wins for Oklahoma, keeping them in the hunt for a March Madness berth. Next, with the 13th pick, the Atlanta Hawks, who own the Kings pick, select Ben Saraf from the German League. Saraf's game may not be flashy, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to deny his production and consistency. He's got a nice mid-range jumper, he operates very well as a secondary playmaking threat with an assist percentage of 33%, he defends hard too, and the Hawks need more two-way production in the rotation to continue building around Trae Young anyway. And finally, with the last pick of the lottery, the Miami Heat, who own the Warriors pick, select Nolan Traore from France. Traore will have some scouts split because of how varying his strengths and weaknesses are, but for a Heat team in desperate need of playmaking from the point guard position, they seem like a good fit to take a swing on him. Traore is incredibly fast with passing instincts that you just cannot teach, but he's not a very good shooter at all yet, and he's also not the most explosive athlete. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below which prospect you're most intrigued with. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.